I used to be scared that my dreams wouldn't come true. These days, I'm scared because I don't even want them the way that I used to. And I can't tell if that means that I'm growing up, giving up, or if I'm just tired. But one thing I can tell you for sure is I'm scared. I'm sick of pretending that feeling this is normal, that not talking about it is normal, that being an adult in your 20s is anything other than just a constant state of disarray, panic, and being scared. I'm currently writing this sitting in my empty teaching room, wondering how, despite all my best efforts, the more that I have integrated my dreams into my day to day life, my paycheck, my identity, that I've never felt more distant from the fire inside of me that made me want to get out of bed in the morning and initially start creating. I can remember vividly the moment that I decided I wanted to be a musician, a creative. It was like this lightning in a bottle moment where I realized that through all of my complex emotions that I experience as a human being, I could capture them in the form of music. I think this feeling comes through all of us, whether it's through music, art, photography, or whatever it is. We all have this moment where we feel like we can understand what we were called to do. Then, in one way or another, life happens. You go through trying to navigate this world. You get glimpses that it's possible, but then slowly, not overnight, those glimpses become fewer and farther between increasingly frequent moments of demotivation, being burnt out, not being able to find your place, until one day you wake up and realize you can't hang. It's not that the work is hard, it's that it loses its glimmer. It's a summation of so many different things that happened to you over the years. I see so many people in this niche of YouTube commentary that are coming at this from the angle of someone who has made it to the other side. I'm making this video from a perspective of brutal honesty. I don't have any of it figured out. Many of the creators that I look up to are the same age as me and are able to put hundreds of thousands of dollars into their savings. But me, I'm just now getting sober, just now realizing how far behind I really am, and day by day coming to terms with the truth that maybe I was never meant to be one of the lucky few who truly makes it. I believe that luck comes from volume, that you can increase your chances by being able to consistently output in the face of silence and not be deterred. But I must admit, I have become extremely deterred, derailed even. And now, as I sit here, I wonder to myself, how did I get here? I used to feel like success was only a matter of time, that I truly had what it takes. Little did I know that as someone that didn't come from connections, my chances were slim from the get go. I didn't grow up with any strong family connections, no friend of an uncle that could get me in. Even though part of me knew these things, a younger version of me didn't have a problem with it. The truth of the matter is that there have been many before me that grew up with less and still made it. This used to be a truth I lived my life by. But to be honest with you guys, I now find myself at 27 with no marketable skills, no following built, and I've started to ask myself if I ever even truly wanted it, or if I simply like to live my life by an idealized version of myself, the version of myself that I thought I one day could become. As I near my 30s, I've started to ask myself what I really want in life. The truth is, the things that have mattered to me the most these past couple years are family, friends, community. These are things that tie me down to my small corner of the world. Ties that, in all honesty, I don't have the guts to sever because I've never had the courage to go out and do it on my own. This realization that I've come to, that my dreams are basically on life support at this point, has brought me a pain that I didn't know I could experience. It reminds me of the pain I've experienced when losing a loved one, except I've had time to process these things and come to terms with it. Support from many people who've also lost a loved one. This current pain is one that I've been going through alone, and I have to keep waking up every day and carrying on in what feels like a world that does not have time to stop. I don't have time to stop. I already feel so behind in my life that the idea of simply existing and giving myself time to grieve has been an absolutely Herculean task. The truth is ugly, plain and simple, that when you come to terms with the dream slipping through your fingers, you feel the need to pivot hard and fast. The question that has haunted me for months now is not if I can make it. The question is, do I even want that version of success that requires me to abandon the things that I currently have in my life that make it feel meaningful? The truth is that I genuinely have no idea where my path lives, what I want to chase anymore. I find no joy in teaching anymore, no joy in playing gigs, no joy in writing music. The only times I truly feel at peace these days is when I'm making content, not vapid musical promotional content, but honest content like this. Talks where I'm willing to get in touch with the ugly side of myself, the vulnerable truth that I've been running away from for a long time now. The point of this video is not to get anyone down. The point of this video is to be someone that is willing to talk about this pain, not as someone that solved it, but as someone that's currently experiencing it, who doesn't know how to fix it, but is too sick of the plastic image projected on social media that avoids talking about this. I want to talk about this. I want to be honest about it because I know I'm not the only one who has been absolutely fractured by the modern world in a way that causes me to question my core values at every turn. Though there is fertile soil in the valley is a treacherous place to be all the same. I want this video to be on my channel, even if it does terrible, so that anyone who feels even remotely the same knows that there is a place for them here. That even if they're afraid to talk about it, I will be here to talk about it. Because if there's one thing that I've learned in this journey of constant emotional damage, is that I am not someone who was meant to be silent. And I'm tired of faking it, faking having my act together, faking the bubbly social media personality. I'm here for the truth, no matter how messy it is, because I just have to talk about it. I don't find myself consistently hating what I do day in and day out necessarily, but I find myself in a position where between bills, trying to get my shit figured out, trying to think about finding a wife, buying a house, and all these things, I have no way to actually attack my dreams anymore. And I know that it's not for a lack of willingness to work hard. I've spent so many countless nights just sitting in my studio, chugging and plugging away at content, creative writing, mentally sharpening myself, learning how to navigate this world. And the thing that I slowly have realized is that in the background, there's been this autopilot, this like background task that I didn't even open up that has just been slowly depleting my storage, my memory. I think it's really interesting because I wouldn't say that I'm a complete failure of a musician. I'm able to find gigs. I'm able to present myself. I'm able to put on a good product. And I think many people that are watching this, if you're in a creative field, you probably feel this too. You didn't just not launch, you did launch, but you realize that the world is such a cold and dark place that oftentimes you start to wonder if it's even worth that feeling of just constant pain and sorrow, trying to just make a check to get by off of doing the things you love. And so that's why I start to get to the point where I'm like, well, what do I love about this? Because I can certainly tell you, I'm not really enjoying the day in and day out. I'm not really enjoying having to show up to constant rehearsals and practices only to go out and play gigs that make me barely enough money to get by. I'm not enjoying having to still work a day job over 40 hours a week in addition to the other things in my life that I want to do, other skills that I want to learn. And I'm sure as hell not enjoying the idea that there's nowhere for me to even necessarily pivot to. I've asked myself a million times in the past couple months, do I want to go back to school? Do I think it would be better for me to consider a career change? And I think the problem is the world that we find ourselves in now has no clear answer to that question. And yeah, I realize that in some ways there never was a clear answer to the question, but at least 20 to 50 years ago, there were opportunities at every turn, no matter what it is you were doing. I'll specifically say with creative work, it would have made way more sense for me to be like, okay, I'm going to go move out to LA or Atlanta or New York now, but that's not even really the case anymore. The truth of that, plain and simple, is it all just comes down to social media marketing these days. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like if you're listening to this video this far, you probably are fucking sick of short-term content. You probably despise it. You probably hate seeing it everywhere you go. And you probably are very aware of the soul-sucking effect that it has on your mentality throughout the day. That's a big part of why I hate making it at this point. Now, I'm going to be transparent here. If you go and you look at the shorts on my YouTube video, I do make short, but I don't really make them in the way that I used to anymore. If you go and you find my actual main accounts, you'll see a completely different style of shorts. The ones that I make now are honestly just things that I think are fun to do. So like I have this bit that I love to do on stream where every time I die in League of Legends, I'll shred guitar. And that's super fun to me. It doesn't even necessarily matter if it blows up or not, because anytime someone sees it, I know that if they like it, they're like, okay, this guy is doing something truly unique. And maybe there's actually a bit of hidden truth to that. Maybe there's actually some greater thing in there that by doing short content that you just think is fun, or long form content that you just think is honest, that you're escaping this weird, vapid, dystopian reality that we find ourselves in, where everyone's just trying to act super happy all the time. And then it becomes less about the views. Right now, I feel like I've been constantly like fighting tooth and nail to salvage my creativity. I protect it like it's my child at this point because without it, I don't even know who I am, to be honest with you. So it's become way less about me making it and way more about me just figuring out how to be a human in 2026 and still want to create for the joy of creating. I think the biggest problem, and maybe this was my issue from the start, was just not understanding that there is no way you can continually do something and stake your entire identity on it and stake your self-worth on it and not eventually get burnt out. And it's not about getting rich. It's not about trying to blow up and become famous. It's about trying to find a small slice that you can have for yourself that can sustainably make you a living and allow you to do something that you love. What I have found over the past couple years is that that slice just continually gets thinner and thinner because there are more people that are willing to compete for that smaller slice now than ever until all you're left with are the breadcrumbs. So you effectively have two options. You can either keep trying to slave away doing what you're doing and hope that somehow, some way, eventually things make sense, which I don't think is necessarily the wrong thing. Or you can try to promote yourself on social media, which I also don't necessarily think is the wrong thing. But what I can tell you is that in both scenarios, it is extremely painful. It's extremely soul sucking. I think a lot of artists nowadays probably know what I'm talking about, or just creatives in general. Like you're suffering at every turn. And it becomes really hard to try to navigate your life when you decided at one point when you were younger that you wanted this to be your life, that you wanted to be a creator, that you wanted to be a musician, photographer, dancer, painter. I don't care what it is. The main thing that I'm getting at is we are slowly seeing our society fall away from one that values the creatives that aren't at the very top 1%. I think the only true answer that I can come up with as somebody that loves to sit and ruminate on thoughts and toil over them over and over again is that you have to be somebody that does this because you love doing it. But let me be clear, it's not that your love of it comes from people hearing it or people seeing it on a volume level. I said earlier that I believe that volume creates luck, and I'm talking about in terms of output, not in terms of what crowd comes to you. I think a lot of times whenever I make videos like this, I'm just trying to find one or two guys that maybe can resonate with what I'm saying, because honestly, all I see, even again in this small COD commentary niche right now, is people that seem like they're starting to get things figured out. And I think it's a good thing that you have these creators like Polly Walnuts and Why Learn Tech trying to readily give this information out to people to help them improve their lives. But I don't really see anybody in this space talking about what it's like to currently go through it. And so that's what I want to continuously talk about. Another solution that I think is really going to matter in the next 5 to 10 years, and this community that we're in is a way of kind of seeing that unfold, and I can see it being telegraphed from this community, is that I think people are going to start to turn more to grassroots movements. And I hope that's the case, because for me, I want to be a part of these grassroots movements that are all about like reclamation of authenticity. You know, I think it's awesome that we're seeing YouTubers come up with minimal editing, just being real and honest and transparent. And I want to be one of them. I'm not going to lie. Not because I necessarily need some kind of platform or some kind of audience as I thought that I might once have needed, but rather that I want to be someone that is so sharp in my ability to transparently talk about the way that I feel around these subjects that people hear me and immediately think to themselves, yes, this is exactly what I've been experiencing. Don't get me wrong, I'm definitely making my own moves to secure my future. I have my own investments, I have my own ideas, and I have my own goals and ambitions that are completely irrelevant from the music side of my life. But the thing that I have to also ask myself is, what do I do when I'm still in my youth, fleeting as it may be, to be able to enjoy what I'm doing here, to feel like I'm building up something that's going to mean something one day? Because honestly, a lot of the times I don't really see a lot of the future in my industry. And again, I don't necessarily know how this approaches other art industries, but I see the same sentiment being echoed across a multitude of industries. And so therefore, it makes me think that this is less of an art issue, perhaps, but I'm going to come at this from the perspective of an artist because that's what I've known my entire life. I used to think to myself, I don't want to go into some kind of field just for the money, because if I did that, I would look back on my life in 30 or 40 years and regret that I never had the guts to truly go after my dreams. But the reality is, going after my dreams has done nothing but tear me down and cause an insane amount of suffering. Suffering that I truly believe will ultimately be for the greater good. I think it'll turn me into somebody that is able to do great things. Maybe that's just cope, but when I sit down and talk to the big guy upstairs every day, that's what I'm praying on. That this suffering that I find myself in, that I know that many other people my age are finding ourselves in, is going to form us into leaders that can actually make the difference. That's what I'm trying to do here by talking about it. If it comes off like I'm complaining, just bitching and moaning, I'm sorry for that. But realistically, I don't care. And the reason why is because we've spent so much time not talking about it that I think it's time to talk about it. So if you like what I have to say, feel free to drop me a comment, like, subscribe, all that bullshit. Keep up with me and what I'm doing. I'm not going anywhere. I might be scrambling at every turn to figure out how often I can post, how much I can do what I want to do, but just know that I will be here for the long term. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.